All right, today we're unpacking the actual mechanics of socio-political movements and leadership. We're going to explore this explainer on the fascinating framework laid out in Muhammad Ahmad al-Rashid's comprehensive text. And look, this isn't just your standard how to manage a team stuff. We're talking about the literal anatomy of how an entire civilizational movement is born, how it grows, and crucially, how it sustains itself across generations.
So let's just dive straight into the source material. We're looking at the leadership phenomenon. It's a dense, deeply philosophical work, and what makes it so incredibly compelling is that it tries to map out the universal laws of human momentum. It's literally asking, how does collective human effort actually translate into real, enduring civilizational power? Well, we're going to decode that blueprint right now. To wrap our heads around al-Rashid's theories, we're going to hit 6 key areas: the vitality of movement, organizing collective action, courageous ambition, the power of ideology, art, faith and momentum, and finally, sustainable leadership. Okay, Section 1, the vitality of movement. Let's start right at the foundation of this theory, which is the idea that true leadership is fundamentally incompatible with standing still.
The text draws this really sharp contrast. On one hand, you have inertia and isolation. It's warning us against being just a feather in the wind of politics, seeking that quiet, comfortable safety. But on the flip side, you have friction and engagement. The core argument here is that a leader absolutely cannot be a passive observer. You have to actively embrace the friction of the crowd because that exact friction is what generates the energy you need for actual societal change.
There's a quote that sums this up perfectly. The proactive believer does not surrender to the current, he plunges into the crowded arena to leave a mark. It's pretty straightforward, right? Impactful leadership means stepping out of your quiet space and getting directly involved with the messy, unpredictable reality of the masses. You literally have to be in the arena to change it.
Moving right along to Section 2, organizing collective action. So we know individual friction is necessary, but how do you actually scale that up into organized group dynamics?
This is where we get to a crucial concept, the large vessel, or in Arabic, wi'a kabir. Al-Rashid points out that individual spontaneous movements usually just fizzle out. They have a really limited impact. So, a successful leader's job is to act as this massive vessel, effectively catching and directing all these chaotic forces. You're synthesizing completely disparate groups. We're talking tribal leaders, professional guilds, scientists, and harmonizing them so they all operate in one cohesive orbit under unified laws.
It's fascinating because he frequently translates physics into sociology to explain this. Think about it. An individual's effort is just kinetic energy, right? It creates some minor, localized ripples. But when a leader aligns the vector sum of all those diverse groups into a single strategic direction, boom, you get a massive, unified societal tide. Through that consistent accumulation, you eventually hit a critical mass that sparks explosive civilizational change. Okay, Section 3, courageous ambition. We know what needs to be done, but what actually drives a person to step up and manage this massive societal tide in the first place? The text lays out this very specific 3-step psychological journey for any potential leader. Step 1, you have to cultivate a deep, unshakable self-belief. Step 2, you have to actively and purposely conquer your natural human instincts of hesitation and fear. And then Step 3, you have to willingly accept what the author calls the heavy burden of public trust. It's a willful, immense psychological sacrifice. To really hammer this home, the text references the historian Arnold Toynbee, who said, "Civilization only emerges when an environment poses a challenge and the people are prepared to respond. Because without that psychological readiness, without the ambition to look terrifying challenges right in the eye, civilizational progress just stalls out completely."
I'd Section 4, the power of ideology. Because look, raw ambition and numbers are great, but they have to be anchored in absolute clarity.
The point here is that a robust ideology can't just be theological or theoretical. To actually work in the modern world, it has to be comprehensive. It needs to cover culture, politics, economics, and jurisprudence. It basically has to have a workable answer for every single facet of human life.
And to put together an ideology that comprehensive, you need a diverse team, a movement's think tank. Al-Rashid makes it clear that intellectual leadership can't just be isolated to clerics or philosophers. You absolutely need secular and technical specialists for modern statecraft, you need military minds for strategic security, academics to shape the narrative, and crucially, women leaders to ensure full societal representation. You need all of these different lenses to accurately read reality.
Ultimately, the argument is that this kind of rigorous intellectual precision does one major thing. It acts as the ultimate safeguard. As a movement is handed down from one generation to the next,
It's that intellectual clarity that ensures the core mission doesn't get distorted, and the movement doesn't lose its core identity.
Now Section 5, Art, Faith, and Momentum. This is where it gets really interesting, as the text intersects hard political theory with aesthetic philosophy to explain how you keep a movement going. We can think of this as the golden ratio of movement. The idea is that truly enduring leadership needs a refined aesthetic sense. It's about taking those grueling, repetitive daily tasks of a long political or social struggle and transforming them into an inspiring, rhythmic current. By using poetry, visual arts, and tapping into natural rhythms, a leader can sustain the emotional endurance of the masses over what might be decades of struggle. To visualize this, the book uses this remarkable metaphor, Reg Butler's unknown political prisoner sculpture. The author looks at this exact piece of monumental art and uses it as a blueprint for the architecture of a sustainable movement.
Let's deconstruct that for a second. The solid rock base, that represents deep, unshakable historical and ideological roots. The vertical elevation is all about the ambition to transcend earthly limits. The iron bars symbolize the inevitable struggle and sacrifice you're going to face, and then those small human figures within the monument are there to remind us that the collective civilizational achievement vastly dwarfs any single individual's contribution. The mission is always bigger than the person.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, Sustainable Civilizational Leadership. How do all these theoretical, psychological, and aesthetic pieces actually come together to build something that lasts?
Here is the final blueprint for continuity. According to the text, true leadership is, at the end of the day, all about sustainability. It means institutionalizing your ideology so it completely outlives its founders. It means bridging the scientific and administrative gaps so you stay globally competitive. And it requires a leader to masterfully balance really aggressive ambition with calculated caution, all while making sure the masses are prepared to instantly seize sudden, unpredictable historical opportunities when they pop up.
So I want to leave you with a vital question to ponder. When you consider the incredibly dense mechanics of leadership we've just unpacked, the necessity of friction, building that large organized vessel, needing diverse think tanks, and having that aesthetic endurance, how will today's emerging global factions structure their collective momentum? Who is out there building the right vessel to truly shape tomorrow's civilization? It's definitely something to keep in mind the next time you watch a historical movement unfold. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.